Okay. Oh, oh, oh. Good morning, everyone. All right, so we're gonna start laying on our backs, and hopefully you have a blanket of some sort, and usually it's about that kind of square shape or rectangular shape, and just roll it into a little burrito, not too round, and maybe flatten the top of it. And the way we're going to lay on this is your head is going to be supported on the blanket. So it's going to be your head, the back of your body, not your lower back. So the blanket should end around the lower ribs. And I'll show you, but then I'm going to sit up so I can read something. So I feel so good already. So you're just going to kind of lay here. And if you do and you feel your lower back, couple things. One, you would lift your hips up, lengthen your lower back, and then set the hips back down so you're more on the sacrum. And if that doesn't work, just scoot down the blanket a little bit. Okay, so go ahead and start there. And notice if your head is really dropping, your chin is really high, I would either take another small little towel or something under your head or flip the very top of your blanket under to create a little pillow, okay, which can be really nice too. And then let your shoulders fall to either side of the blanket and start to tap into your breath. And I wanted to read a little quote that I came across this morning, and it's by James Carroll, who's a novelist. And he said, "We spend most of our time and energy in a kind of horizontal thinking. We move along the surface of things. But there are times when we stop. We sit still. We lose ourselves in a pile of leaves or its memory. We listen and breezes from a whole other world begin to whisper." So as we lay here, we maybe let go of the horizontal thinking, right? We let go of the surface of things and we allow our minds to settle, our bodies to settle. And maybe we take a nice deep breath. And we notice how our bodies are feeling. If you're still feeling your lower back and you've adjusted a couple of things, like moved further away from the blanket and you've lengthened your spine, then I would bend the knees and leave the feet on the floor so that you have less of an arch in your low back. But just notice here as we, excuse me, let me sit up for a second. And try again. And just notice as we breathe. As we find our breath, as we settle down. As we clear our throats, hold on. As we feel the rise and the fall of the belly, good, few more breaths right here. And then just turn the head to one side. Make sure it doesn't fall off your blanket. But turn the head to one side. Goodness gracious. And lengthen the arm on the opposite side. I'm going to sit up. Whatever's going on here doesn't want me laying down. So you're turning the head to one side, you're stretching through the opposite arm. Try to relax your jaw. Find your breath. And then bring the head back to center, bring the arm back to neutral, and turn the head to the other side. Relax your jaw. Try to have a neutral head. In other words, the chin isn't lifting or doing anything funky. Deep breath. And then bring the head back to center again. And if you can, slide the back of the head so that the chin lifts up, but don't lift the head, just slide the head up. And then maybe slide the head down so that your chin tucks. It's not going to go too far. Good, and do that again. Maybe slide the chin up and slide it down. And then bring the head back to neutral and start to move the opposite arm. So if your head is turned to the left, your right arm is out to the side. Just start to move that arm, maybe slide it up and slide it down. Good, a few here. Maybe it goes all the way up and overhead and down. One more, just slide up. And then slide the arm part way down so it's diagonally out from your shoulder, and then turn the head toward the arm. And just kind of notice, right, where you may or may not be tight in the neck. Try to relax that shoulder, relax the back body. Take the head to neutral, let the arm come back down, and then go to the other side. So for me, I'll turn my head right. And then I'm just going to start to float the opposite arm up and down, and maybe you find a tight spot in the shoulder, in the neck, in the chest. So you're making little snow angels with that one arm. And breathe. And then find that diagonal line, soften that shoulder down toward the floor, turn the head toward that arm. Relax everything that you can. And take the head back to neutral, let that arm go. Bend both knees, place both feet on the floor. I want you to tuck the hips, lift them up so that your hips and your blanket are about the same distance away from the floor. In other words, you're drawing more or less a straight line. The hands can be down on the floor, or they can be at the hip point on either side of your hips. I want you to press into the floor. Don't lift any higher. Press into the floor and engage the glute muscles, the outer hip and glute medius, or the glute muscles. Just engage there. Feel that. And then with your hands sitting at the front hip points, lift your left hip up a little bit until you feel the left side glute get more active. So if you've been in my classes the last 2 or 3, you've heard me talk about this pelvic clock face, right? So if we're lifting the left hip, that would be 3 o'clock. And then lower that so that the hips are even again, or the pelvic clock face is neutral. And if we're looking at this, and this is new for you, belly button would be 12 o'clock, pubic bone, or maybe a little bit lower, inner groin would be 6 o'clock, and then 3 and 9 o'clock. Okay, so Hands are at your hips, nice and soft, so you can feel level. And then press up through the 9 o'clock or the right side hip, just enough to feel the right side glute get really active. Now you know who you are. If this is painful, I know one of you that's working with a little bit of an injury. If it's hurting, that I would come off blanket and just stay low to the ground and lift. And lower 9 o'clock. Good. Now raise up 6 o'clock, which means, right, that pubic bone is going to really lift. We're going to squeeze through the lower glutes, activating everything, tucking a whole bunch. Come back to neutral. Neutral means you could put a cup of tea on the center of that clock face and it would stay level, relatively speaking. And then drop 6 o'clock a little, be very gentle here. So small arch, as if you were going to raise up that 12 o'clock spot. And come to neutral, let everything come down to the floor. Whew. Good, breathe. Bring your right knee to your chest, still on the blanket. Lengthen the left leg to the floor. And feel this arch, right, in the leg or in the back. I want you to smooth the left leg out until it is grounded on the floor. Doesn't matter how close your right knee is. Smooth the left leg down to the floor. Level out the hips and then press the right knee away from you. Keep the left leg long. Keep the knee straight. Breathe. And then draw the right knee to your chest and press it away. The whole time you're doing that, bringing it in, pressing it away, see if you can keep the pelvis where it is and see if you can keep the left leg on the floor. So drawing it in, pressing away. One more time, squeeze it in and press away. And then release and lengthen the left leg all the way down to the floor. Release both legs or the right leg all the way to the floor and feel that. Bend both knees. Here we are again. Bring the left knee to your chest, hold on to it. Straighten the right leg. Smooth that right leg so it's really flat on the floor so that knee's not bent, thigh is not hiked up. And then push the left knee away. Right leg is active, by the way. Both sides of the body nice and long. Find your breath. And then bring the left knee closer and push it away. And just kind of tap in. Is the pelvis staying pretty neutral? Move it away. Good. One more time. Bring it in. And move it away. And then bring that knee to chest. Bring your other knee to your chest. Hold on to both knees, either on top or underneath. Either one is okay. Take a deep breath here. Exhale, bring your chin to your knees. Squeeze in. That blanket is supporting your low back or your mid back. And release. Inhale. Exhale, squeeze in. Good. Inhale, release. Last one. Exhale, squeeze it in. Hold behind both of your knees and press yourself up to a seat. Ah, beautiful. Set your block or your blanket away for now. Bring yourself into Janu Sirsasana. So if I were mirroring, it would be my left leg out and my right leg long. Again, always know that you can take a block under that knee to help support that. I do want you to grab one block and take it underneath your straight leg. So it's right underneath my knee. And I'm sorry, I should have used a brighter block here so you could see what the heck I'm doing. So that the leg is bent, okay? Inhale, reach up. Exhale, swan dive part way. Let the hands come to the floor. Drag the fingertips back. Drag the straight legs hip back. and lengthen through your spine and see if you can get any rounding out of the lower back and out of the upper back, okay? Out of the upper back. Find your breath and notice, right, how this is feeling in your particular body. So we're drawing back, we're lengthening forward, and then lift this straight leg so that it's straight. The block is supporting you. So lengthen across it, lengthen across it. Oh, yeah. Nice big stretch for the hamstring. Keep dragging that leg back. And then let the heel go. Whew, and come on up. Switch sides. Maybe you could switch sides without using your hand until you got to move your block, that is. Right? How do you do that, right? It's like, woohoo, right? We can have some fun there. All right, so the block is underneath that knee, supporting you. The hips are level, the torso nice and long. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, swan dive, just part way, right? Because what do we normally do? We're like, oh yeah, I can drape over that, like no problem. Don't want you to do that. Hands come to the floor, the fingers drag back, the shoulders get wider. This long hip, the long legs hip draws back, and we try to find some level, some equal, some balance. Breathe, everybody, shoulders down. And then lift the heel off the floor. I don't know why. Why does that make such a difference? It does to me anyway. Maybe I'm the only one. Am I the only one? No, okay. I'm not the only one. So as soon as you lift and try to straighten that leg, then the quad gets active. The hamstrings stretch a whole bunch more. Maybe you come a little bit further forward, maybe not. Find your breath. Interesting. This like shaking just a little bit. And lower the heel and come on up. Whew. Take both legs out. Maybe you did so without using your hands. You've got that block. I want you to take it in front of you, maybe at the second level, maybe at the highest level. So when we come forward, this is a tricky one for most people, right? Because instead of hinging here at the hips, by the way, sitting on your blanket would really help. Instead of hinging here, we round down toward the block. So maybe we take that block just a little bit in front of us and rest our forearms on that. And then externally rotate the legs a little bit to take the toes out just a little. Find your breath. Where is it for you? This can be a very deep stretch for some. If you have pain, I want you to bring the legs closer together. And then take the toes so that they're pointing straight up. Try to ground through the heels and breathe. Some of you are going to be able to come just a little bit lower. Always be mindful. Early in class forward folds, I'm always very cautious of. I don't go deep. Place your hands on the floor. Lift up. Move your block out of the way. No hands, maybe bend. Baddha Konasana. Oh, yeah. Again, blocks can come underneath the knees or blanket underneath the hips. I mean, really, for a lot of us, we could do that as a pretty regular thing, especially if the knees are up any amount. If they're up here, this has to stay so tight. What's the answer? It's to get the hips up, right? Level or higher than the knees. We'll have to do a whole class on that, I think. And breathe and just feel this little Baddha Konasana, a little stretch through the hips. Find your breath. Bring the knees back together. Oh, that feels better. And believe it or not, I want you to come back down to the floor. Have your strap with you this time. Come down nice and slow. Use your little cute bellies. right? Just scoot down, and come back to the floor. Knees are bent. Bring your right knee to your chest. Take that strap around your right foot. Take the right foot up to the ceiling. And again, if you've been taking my classes, you know I'm in the middle of a training, and so I tend to get very, very focused on what I'm learning. So we're doing some repeat moves, and we're going to add to that. So with your right leg straight on the floor, I want you to find that neutral pelvis, that 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock thing, right? So that it feels pretty neutral. The tendency here is to bring the leg up closer and flatten the back. I want everybody to have a little bit of space behind the lower back. And then take your left leg halfway down to the floor, halfway. So the knee is still bent, and notice what happens with your clock face, right? Notice what happens with your pelvis. Did it shift? Did it change? Take the leg even further out, knee is still bent. What are you doing with the right knee? So the teacher that I'm doing the course with, she said, when we keep the knee bent, we lose or we congest all the potential power in the quadricep, right? Because this quad can't engage when this knee is bent. So we got to straighten the leg. It doesn't matter if your leg is more diagonal away from you, it doesn't matter. So space, leg straight. And then some who can, I want you to straighten the right or the left leg all the way down to the floor and smooth that thigh down to the floor again. If you have to let the right leg go further away from you, let that happen. Right knee super straight, super straight. Find your breath, tone through the lower belly, feel the stretch here. Hold the strap with your right hand. And lift your left leg a couple of inches. Don't change the clock face. Don't change the pelvis. Breathe. You should feel equal weight across your sacrum. Breathe. This is harder work than it seems, isn't it? And then raise the left leg up to meet the right, straight knees. You know who you are. Lower the left leg. Don't let it touch the floor. Don't forget to breathe. Inhale first. Exhale, press that leg up. Release it all the way down, all the way to the floor, all the way. Lengthen the left leg. Bend the right knee. Release your strap, straighten the legs, set one on either side. Or set your legs straight, one next to the other, and just feel. Woo, okay. Every time I do that, I feel something a little bit different in the hips. I'm finding this really interesting. So bend the knees, feet to the floor, wrap your left foot, take it up to the ceiling. Find that clock face, find that neutral pelvis, little bit of space behind your lower back. You're equally on your sacrum. Notice if your left hip is hiking up toward the ribs, and if it is, lengthen through both sides. The strap is in your left hand, your left shoulder isn't overly working. Take the right foot halfway down, just halfway, and then check it out. What changed? Did the left knee start to bend, right? Did the pelvis start to rock high on one side? Soften that upper body, right? Your jaw should be relaxed. Take the right leg a little further out, but the knee is still bent. Maybe square your left foot. Is it curling in? Is it curling out? Can you square it? Can you straighten that leg? Really straighten it, everybody. Don't hyperextend it, but straighten it. Feel your quad working. And then smooth that right leg long to the floor, the back of that thigh coming down to the floor. Find your breath. Hips are even, belly is toned, low belly, transverse abdominis. Lift the right leg a couple of inches. Did you shift something? Did the pelvis shift? Did you arch? Did you whatever it is for your body? Can you stay here in a neutral pelvis? And then exhale, lift the right leg slowly up to meet the left. Inhale first. Exhale, slowly lower. Don't let it touch the floor. Go slow. Inhale before lifting. Exhale. Lift it up. How's that pelvis doing? Inhale first. Exhale, lower. Pause. Straighten both legs. Lower all the way to the floor. Good job, everybody. Bend your knee, release your strap. Straighten both legs all the way to the floor. Just let them relax. Bend both knees, place both feet on the floor. We're almost done. Take your hands to your sides, down along your side. And I want you to imagine that somebody has their hands on both of your front shoulders and they're pushing them down to the floor. Okay, so inhale first. Exhale, push the shoulders back to the floor. Neutral spine. Good. Inhale, release. Exhale, push them down. Good. 3 more. Inhale, release. Exhale, press. 1, 2 more. Inhale. Exhale, press. Good. Last one. Inhale, releasing. Exhale, press. Leave that press. Bend the elbows. Fingers point up toward the ceiling. Press into the lower belly, tuck slightly to lengthen the tailbone. Peel your hips off the floor. Low bridge, low bridge. I am not pressing up. Imagine if somebody could put a piece of wood from shoulders to back of knees, and you've created this little ramp. Okay, the pelvis is tucked slightly, but you still have your curve in your low spine. You're going to squeeze the outer glutes. Pull the hamstrings back, press the shoulders into the floor. Find your breath here, everybody. Lift 3 o'clock and hold. Squeeze. Oh, yeah. You should feel left side very active. Release to neutral. If you're not sure, hands go to front hips. Raise 9 o'clock. Breathe. Release, level. Lift 6 o'clock. So you're really tucking. You should feel your cute little behinds working their little butts off. Ha ha ha, right? Breathe. Neutral. Slight tilt. This one you don't do deep because you could sit too heavy in the low back. So it's like you're lifting 12 o'clock or you're dropping 6 o'clock. Come back to neutral. Hang in there. We're almost done. Press into your left foot. See if you can raise your right. Squeeze and lower. Woo. Level the hips. See if you can lift the left. This is important. We're going to do this one more time on both sides. Press down. Everybody put your palms of your hands on your hip points. Try to keep those hip points level. See if you can lift your right foot. Don't lift high. It's a few inches off the floor. Whew. Breathe and lower. Did the hip drop? Raise your left foot. Did the right hip drop or the left hip drop? Try to keep them level. Press it down. Lift both hips up. Both hips down. Holy moly. I know that's a lot of work for something so simple. And then pelvic tuck and tilt. Don't lift, just tuck and lift. Good. One more. Tuck and lift. Neutral spine. Knees come to your chest. Roll to one side. Press all the way up again. Oh, and grab one of your blocks. You're going to sit upon your block. Gosh, I realize how hard that is to see in this. Yeah, will you throw me a green one? Thank you. Okay, this should be a little easier to see. So we're going to sit on the block. And I have pink ones too. Let me have a pink one. Pink. Green. Let's just play catch. Thank you, Kristen. That's much better. So we're sitting on the block. The legs are out in front of you. The spine lifts. You have neutral low back. Okay, so we're not rounding. We're not arching. We're just nice and easy here. And then imagine that somebody just said that they want you to lift off that block. So I'm going to squeeze everything toward the center to try to lift up. What do you feel? Anybody feel this right here? Breathe, flex your feet, dig your heels in, squeeze up. Squeeze up, seriously squeeze up. Like, don't just little, squeeze up and let go. All the muscles, right? So we have this hip joint. We have the femur, right, that goes into the hip joint. We have all the muscles and ligaments all around these hip joints and the pelvis. What are we doing here? We're going, good. So everybody squeeze up. So if you think about squeezing a block, similar. Squeeze, breathe, keep the chest lifted, belly toned in, and release. We're going to do one more. Here we go. You feel that? Yeah, squeeze up. It's simple, simple work. Simple work. Woo. Breathe. And release. Good. If you can, cross the legs. Even my friends with some knee issues can usually cross if they're up on a block, not always. So now you're going to feel both sit bones kind of on that block. You should feel pretty solid across. I want you to do the same thing we just did 3 times. If you can't cross, go back to straight legs. I want you to squeeze everything into the middle as if you were going to lift off the block. Breathe. It's like going up an elevator, right? It just like went up maybe, a 1/4 of an inch. Squeeze in and release fully. Notice if you're leaning to one side or the other. Notice if one side's heavy compared to the other. Some of you, I want you to switch legs. Not going to be for everybody. For me, it feels weird as heck. Okay. Just so you know you're not alone. All right, here we go. Squeeze up. Breathe. Keep squeezing. It's like you're gonna go from here and stand up, which we're not. But it's that kind of, what do I got to do to get there? And release. Good. One more time. Squeeze up. Keep everything else lifted, belly toned. And let go. Oh, nice job, everybody. Carefully set yourself off your block. Set your blocks in front of you. Come to table pose. So you're in table pose. I want you to flip your toes under, maybe a couple cats, cows, or just pelvic tilts and tucks, because muscle memory, right? As we keep forming the muscle memory of what does a neutral pelvis feel like in my body, right? We start to really learn that. And then hold the beach ball between the elbows, broaden through the shoulders. Squeeze the lower belly, lift the knees. Notice if you lost your pelvic clock, if you lost your neutral spine, your neutral pelvis. Big deep breath. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, lower the knees, undo the toes. Let's do that again. Flip your toes under. Imagine that you're squeezing a block. Lift the knees. Did that change anything? Tone through the lower belly. Don't flatten. Don't arch overly. Don't do this. Breathe. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower the knees. Tap your feet. Good. One more here, everybody. Squeeze the imaginary block. Flip your toes under. Feel the transverse abdominis engage. Lift the knees. Try not to let your head hang, nor are you cranking on the neck to look up. Lift one foot. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower that leg. Level pelvis. Lift the other. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower down dog. Pedal out the feet, everybody. Just breathe. And then take your feet wide on your mat. Walk your hands back. Bend the knees, hands to knees. Neutral spine, lift all the way up. And shake it out. And breathe. Good. I want you to grab a block and listen up. Most will want to come to a wall, okay? I'm even going to be near a wall. So just grab your block and come someplace where you can put a hand on something. And then set your block on the floor. It can be a piece of furniture, it can be anything as long as you have something to help balance. Step on your block. I'm going to turn around just so you can see what I'm doing with the other leg. Long as one finger, one hand, one something is touching something stable. And then feel the hip. You can keep your big toe on the floor for a second. Feel the hip that's on the block. Squeeze it in. And then just swing very small the leg that's free. Just swing it. Now, I'm not swinging and involving and shifting my pelvis. I'm simply swinging the leg as if it had a weight at the bottom of it. And it's just heavy. It's just a heavy leg. I'm not shifting the pelvis, right? Breathe. And then come back to the center, squeeze the standing hip in, flex the foot that's hanging, and breathe. Take your hand to the outer hip and draw the hip up toward the ribs. That hip that's free, that leg that's free, squeeze it up and lower it down. Squeeze it up and lower. Good. 3 more. Squeeze. Keep everything else neutral. Down. This is 4. Down. Good. 1 more. Squeeze it up. Hold here. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And step off your block and shake it out. And breathe. So I'm going to stay on the same side or the same view here because I want you to see what happens with the actual standing hip, which, by the way, is going to be a little tired, right, from some of the work. So step on your block with your other leg. This spot right here, squeeze it in, right? Tensor fascia lata, all these hip muscles, all the thigh muscles, drawing it in, hold there, and very gently just swing the legs, super gentle. By the way, again, the teacher that I'm working with, she said this is a wonderful way to release your psoas muscle. Let it be heavy, let it be not so controlled. So Judy, just relax the foot, right? You want the foot flexed Maybe a little if you're going to get close to touching the floor. But otherwise, let it hang heavy. That's it, Betty. Just relax it. And then stop and squeeze in the standing leg. That's the work, really, right? And then the opposite hip, you're going to hike it up and down, but you're not going to let the standing leg's hip overly jut out. Squeeze it in, that's it, and down. 2 more. Squeeze in, down, squeeze up, down, and then squeeze and hold. Try not to scrunch your feet. Working on this standing leg here. Find your breath, get really tall, and release it and step down. And just feel that. Grab your block, take it between the legs, and give your legs a good squeeze. Feel the work that's been kind of happening, right? And breathe. Now go back to the first side, which I'm not sure. I think this might have been my second side, but that's okay. The leg that's on the block is the hand closest to the wall. Stand on the block. And it's okay, Kristen, either way, but it's easier if the hand that's supporting your balance is the same side as the leg is on your block. Draw in that hip like we did, and just turn the other leg out to the side. Now, if your balance is like, no, thank you for the block, just come to the floor. It's okay. And then take that leg to tree pose. And breathe. Take one hand up to the heart. Now, please, please, please be careful here. If you want to play with balance, both hands off. Breathe. If there is any level of stress or fear in this, one hand stays at the wall. Breathe, level the hips, neutral spine. Take one hand to the wall, release the other leg, and step down. I love this version of tree pose. Why? Because we have no choice really but to focus on the outer hips that help us support the standing pose. All right, so other foot, stand up on it. Find your balance. Squeeze in that standing leg. Turn the other foot out toward the side a little bit. Just external rotation. And then you decide that the foot can go low. Big toe can stay on the floor. You can take the leg up to your tree. I want you to squeeze that standing hip in as much as possible. One hand to your heart. Don't ever feel like you've got to release that other hand. Every leg's different. If you can or want to play, release the hand. Keep working on the standing leg hip. Hand to the wall, release the leg, and step down. Good job, everybody. Keep that block on the floor and take it between your ankles. And again, you might want the wall there. You might not. Okay. I know. And just walk. No, don't walk. That's actually kind of fun. Okay. I read an article yesterday about play and how we should have more play in our daily lives. So there's your play, right? Okay. Squeeze in, hands to hips. Find a focus point, one hand to a wall, perfectly okay. Lift up those heels and down, lift up 2, down, squeeze up 3, whoops, and down, 4, 5, 6, 7, come on, 3 more, 8, and 9, and 10, and let go. Good job, everybody. And just grab your block, set it aside. Have both of your blocks near the front of your mat. Come to the front of your mat. And place your feet well, okay? Just kind of feel them. Place your feet. And then feel the line of your body from those solid feet through the knees, through the fronts of the hips, pelvis neutral, right? I think about this clock because they're drilling it into our heads. Shoulders up even, head sitting very perfectly on top of the neck of the shoulders. Take a deep breath. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, bend the knees deeply. Come on down. Whew. Hands to shins, halfway up. Exhale down. Step back with your right leg. High or low lunge, so your right knee is either on the floor or it's lifted. Inner thighs squeeze together, hands come to knee. Lift your chest, squeeze in through the belly so that the chest lifts. Take the arms up. Find your breath. Squeeze the back glutes. Get nice and active, everybody. Good. Take your hands to your knee. Listen up. You're going to lean forward, short hop up, drop the heel so that now you're in a warrior one stance. Squeeze in, tuck up, lift up, warrior one. Breathe, back leg active. Hands come to knee. Try to sneak that leg back again. Be careful. You don't have to move that foot one iota if you don't want. Here's the tricky part. Chest lifts a little. Some of you are not going to want to do this. Okay. You know who you are. You're going to lower the knee to the floor. Slow. Release your toes. Hands up. Breathe. That's it. Big stretch here. Little tuck through the pelvis. Hands to knee. Choices. One, you're going to go to down dog from here. Make it a little easier. Two, you know what's coming. Flip your toes under. Squeeze. Push up. Woo! Yeah, baby. Arms up. Down dog. Hands down. Step back. Shake it out. Inhale, tippy toes. Exhale, knees part way down. Try to find your pose. One foot up, optional. Butts down, butt down, Judy. Foot down, other foot up. Try not to raise the hips. Foot down, knees down. Child's pose. Or hero pose. Find your breath. So we start to play with different levels of how do we move in space, right? What we just did, we went from a lunge, changed the footing to warrior one, changed the footing back to lunge, down to a low squat or a low lunge, right? All of those things requiring a lot of strength through here. Just find your breath. All right, let's take it on the other side, everybody. Here we go. So if you're in child's pose, come back to table. Big tone to the belly, neutral spine. Think about that clock face just for a second. And it's hard. It's hard for me to feel it, right? It's like, am I overarching? Am I over tucking? What is it? Where does it feel? I don't know, both comfortable, but not habitually comfortable. Not like, oh, that's how you always do it, comfortable. Different. All right, toes flip under. Lift the knees. Try to keep the hips down. Lift one leg optional. Core work. Don't lift or lower that hip. Lower that foot. Lift the other. Neutral pelvis. Down, down dog. Can everybody go and breathe? Whew. All right, look through those hands, step forward, right leg. You can always introduce your blocks here to help you. High lunge or low lunge, squeeze the inner thighs, take your hands to your knee and lift up to lunge. Find that pose first. Take the arms up second. Squeeze the back glute. Are you overarching here, right? Is there a sense that the pubic bone draws up to the belly button to keep transverse abdominis engaged? Breathe. Hands to knee, lean forward. Small hop up, drop the back heel, warrior one position. And the arms go up. Front knee is aligned, front hip is aligned. Breathe. Hands to knee. Lean forward, step it back again. Talk about some footwork. Arms up. Breathe. And then your final one, hands to knee, slowly lower down. Woo. And hands up. I know, right? Whole lot of transitioning, whole lot of stretching. Big deep breath. All right, one, you're just taking yourself to down dog. Two, we're gonna take it back up, flip, press up, big strength there. Hands up. Exhale, down dog. Shake it out, everybody. Lower your knees to the floor. And child's pose. Find your breath. From child's pose, come on back up to a seat. We're going to do a couple of different things here. So start in a nice, easy seat. And take your hands to your knees and a couple of little cat cows. And again, it's almost to find center, right? I know that's not center. As I'm tilting forward, my sit bones are lifted off the floor. I know that's not centered. It feels terrible. Can I find the middle? And then just kind of wiggle a little side to side to see if you can find level at the sit bones. So something, again, I didn't really ever think about is we often will sit heavy to one side and not even realize it. So if you can tap in, right, what I read this morning, get below the horizontal surface of things and go, am I sitting heavier on one side than the other side? Can I find the middle space here that feels like both are weighted evenly? And if you're not sure, especially if you're like me and you always sit the same way, switch legs and then it becomes pretty clear which way you tend to sit. Find that breath. Inhale the arms up. Exhale, one hand down, one hand lifts. Breathe. Then take it over. Keep that hip down on the floor. Find your breath. Try not to scrunch up the shoulder. All the things you know. Lean forward, reach over that knee. And just stretch that back body. Inhale the arm up. Let's do a little cartwheel with the hands to come into twist. Check that head, check the neck, right? Maybe move the head side to side. Ooh. Can pollen season make your neck tight? Right? It's so tight this morning. It's been tight. All right, inhale, both arms up. Exhale down. Roll the shoulders back. Same thing, come back to the center of those hips. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, one hand down, one hand straight up. Then start to come over from that nice straight arm. Keep the chest open. Keep the other shoulder down, everyone. Press back into the equal weight of the hips. Who's lifting off that hip? Yep. I can see through the computer screen. No, not really. Breathe. And then reach over the knee. Just stretch that back. Inhale, cartwheel arms. Open the shoulders. Soften the shoulders. Turn the head a little bit one way, the other way. Don't forget to breathe. Good. And both arms up. Exhale down. Release the legs. Take them a bit wide. So we have been playing with this as well, but again, a little bit different. And if you haven't taken the last few classes with me, it'll be some new info for you. So you're going to lean back like we often do. Don't go super wide, by the way. Yeah. So, and Judy's demoing really nicely. If you're on your mat, right, you wouldn't go any wider than your mat, and you may or may not need your blanket. If your knee lands on a hard surface and it doesn't feel good, okay? So go ahead and windshield wiper and stay tall. And then allow the knees to go over to the right. This back leg, we want to adjust it back. And I want you to pause here because for some, this doesn't feel particularly great. And if it doesn't, right, one block is going to go under your knee to keep it a little bit more lifted. For me, that doesn't feel particularly good. Maybe a blanket under your knee feels good, or maybe you don't need it at all. But then take your front foot and your back knee and kind of snuggle them together, okay? So that the foot, the arch of that foot is kind of hugging around the knee. And then start to turn your body. Here's the tendency. This hip here, what we think we should do is push it further and further and further forward. But what I want you to do is scoot it under. Scoot it under. The hands go forward, more forward than you think. The tailbone scoots under. Breathe. And then the ribs soften in, particularly the right side ribs. And breathe. Some of you are going to hang on to that and come to elbows. But when you come to elbows, it gets harder to keep the left side tailbone glute tucked. So keep that in mind. Breathe. So it's like we're knitting the ribs in at the same time we're engaging this left glute, the back leg's glute. I like it better on hands for this particular thing, for just what we're trying to feel below the surface, right? Below that horizontal surface. I love that idea. And then if you want to come down, come on down. If you want to come all the way down, go ahead. Let go of the tuck. Let go of that kind of action. Now it's more of a twist. Your breath. Your back foot, back ankle, try to lift the knee, the back leg's knee off the floor. Say hello to your butt. If you didn't know it was there before, you probably feel it right now. And lower down, lift the ankle off the floor, internal rotation. Lower it down. Come out the way that you came in. If you're all the way down, first come to your elbows. As you come to your hands, do a little tuck under and then release the pose. Straighten both legs. Give me a nice Dandasana. I'm just going to turn around so I have room for what we just did. Just straighten it out. And I like what Kristen did. Maybe move the flesh out from the sit bones and just sit really tall. And then let's go to the other side. So the feet go wider than normal. You're going to lean back just enough so that you can windshield wiper those legs. Work with the hips. The next time those knees go to the left, go ahead and pause. Move. Often you got to move this back leg back a little bit to make it comfortable, and then snuggle the arch of your foot in the back of your knee if your legs work that way. Okay. And then we start to turn over, but it's not an all the way to the front of the mat, right? It's kind of over that front thigh. We walk the hands out. So a lot of times I'll do this pose and I'll stay tall because I'm looking for a stretch through the underside or that left side ribs. This time we're walking them out and we're going to tuck, even if you got to like use your hand, your right hand to tuck under that right glute, right tailbone. It's not really you don't have two tailbones, but you get the idea. And then the belly tones in and the left side ribs squeeze in. Like that just changes everything. Your whole internal deep muscles start to go, right? They try to kind of come together, and it's toning through that whole deep mid body, if I say so, right? So remember the tuck. There you go, Judy. Remember the ribs scoot in a little bit. Just breathe. Couple more here. I know you want to come down. It's actually much more comfortable to come to elbows for me than it is to stay higher. And then elbows. Pause. Just think about that for a little bit. Still would like to see a little tuck of the tailbone, a little drawing in of the left bottom ribs. And then maybe the rest of the way down. Pause, then kind of let go of all the tucking and snugging. Just breathe, everybody. When and if you're ready, lift that back knee. Don't lift up off the hip or anything. You should feel that glute become super active. Lower that knee down, lift the ankle or the foot. The knee stays down, internal rotation. And lower that down. Come to elbows. Come to your hands. And release it. Good. So this one we don't really do. I like it a lot. It can be a little bit funky until you get it. And really all it is a massage for the glute hips, right? Because we've been engaging the heck out of them. And so you kind of lean to one side, and often it's easier to come down on the elbows. You bend the knees and you just roll on that hip, on that one side glute. You feel that? Oh yeah, right? So you're moving through the glute muscles, the external hip rotators, piriformis, obturator, yai, yai, yai. Good. Couple more. That's just a nice massage, everybody. And then release and go to the other side. Coming down to the elbow, taking the knees up, and just finding that. So, yep. So some, like for me, I've got my backhand also supporting my body weight so that I don't just roll. Yeah. If you've been riding bike, running, doing what we're doing in yoga, right? You're feeling those babies. And release. Oh, that feels better. All right. Now, grab your blanket. We're not quite done. Again, this might not be for everybody. My one friend out there who had knee surgery and can't go on her belly yet, this probably won't work for you, but you decide. So we're coming back to that blanket roll. And do me a favor and just scoot it to one side or have a second blanket towel, something. If you have a hard surface like we do here, if you're on carpet, then don't worry about it. You're going to lay prone on your blanket. And sorry about full bladders here. Your pubic bone is off your blanket, okay? So that your tailbone and your back body are really long. Your head is supported any way you want it to be, head, chin. You can even take a block under forehead if you'd like. So here's what we're going to do. One, you can just hang out here and let the tailbone be long. Or two, you're going to take one knee out to the side. And breathe. Just notice here. And like I said, any of my gals in the studio who are working with this concrete floor, you might want something. In fact, I'm going to scoot over a little bit so I'm not quite fully on the concrete there. And just kind of notice that and pause. Fully relaxed, tailbone descending, pubic bone just off your blanket. And then see if you can slide the knee in and then slide it out again. Realize the second blanket would be nice. Slide the knee in and slide it out. One more if this is working for you. We'll need a second blanket next time we do this. And out. And then just pause. And then slide that leg down to meet the other leg. And pause again. I'm going to scoot my blanket over. Find your spot. Bend the other knee so that it's at a 90-degree angle from your hip to your knee and then your knee to your ankle. And just pause. Just breathe. And then if you can draw the knee in, it's not working. If you don't have a blanket or a smooth surface, it's not coming in as easy. So just see what you can do. If you're on carpet, this will be easy. Squeeze it in and let it go out again. And then just pause here for a second. These are often called mountain climbers. Very deep for some people. And then straighten that leg. You're still on your blanket. You're still on your blanket. Your pubic bone is down. Breathe. And then purposefully lengthen that tailbone even more. So press it toward the floor. Come up to your elbows for a little baby sphinx. If that feels fine, no issues, no problems, let the hands come to the floor, elbows in. Keep the blanket resting on the lower belly. The elbows are bent, the shoulders are back and down. That's it. Bring the head back in space. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and lower down, everybody. And then just roll off your blanket to one side. Looks like we're going to run just a little late, so come on to your backs. And I would take that lovely blanket roll, since it's right there, and place it either behind the thighs, which I personally like more, or I would place it under the knees. Bring one knee to chest, squeeze it in. Bring your head to that knee. Release it down. Grab your other knee. Bring the head up. Release it down. Let the hands come down to your sides, everyone. The legs are wide on your mat. Your hips, pelvis are even. And then let it all go. Let all the thoughts go. Let all the details go. Let all the minutiae go. Feel your body soften down to the mat. Relax your jaw. Soften your belly. Soften down even more. Start to wiggle your toes and your fingers. Slowly draw the knees up toward your chest. And rock side to side. Allow the knees to roll to one side or the other. Curl over to seedling pose. And then slowly press all the way up. Take one hand and rest it over your heart, and take the other hand and rest it over that. Maybe bow to your own inner wisdom, your strength, the power of kindness. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you, everybody.